Once upon a time, in a sunny little village nestled between rolling green hills, lived two cheerful children named Hansel and Gretel. They lived with their kind father in a cozy cottage with a thatched roof. Their mother had sadly passed away, but their father did his best to make them smile every day. One day, their father remarried a woman who promised to be a loving stepmother. However, she turned out to be a grumpy and selfish woman. She made the children do all the chores, scolded them for the smallest things, and always seemed to frown. What's worse, she wanted all of the father's love and attention for herself. One evening, as the sun began to set, the stepmother hatched a wicked plan. She whispered to the father, "There's not enough food for all of us. We must take Hansel and Gretel deep into the forest and leave them there. It's the only way we'll survive." The father was horrified at the thought of abandoning his beloved children. However, the stepmother was manipulative, and after hours of arguing, the father reluctantly agreed, fearing for his own survival. The next morning, the stepmother woke up Hansel and Gretel particularly early. "We're going to gather firewood in the forest today," she chirped, her voice sickeningly sweet. "Now be good children and help your father." Unsuspecting, Hansel and Gretel skipped alongside their father, excited for a day in the forest. As they ventured deeper into the woods, Hansel started to get a bad feeling. He stopped and picked up small white pebbles, dropping them one by one as they walked. He hoped these would help them find their way back home. After what felt like hours, they reached a clearing. The stepmother told the children to gather wood and said, "Stay here while we get some logs, we'll be back soon." But as Hansel and Gretel watched their father and stepmother disappear deeper into the forest, they knew in their hearts that they had been abandoned. Scared and alone, Hansel and Gretel decided to follow the trail of pebbles back home. But to their horror, they realized that hungry birds had eaten all the pebbles. Lost and hungry, they wandered aimlessly through the forest. The trees grew denser, casting long, spooky shadows. Just when their hope began to dwindle, they stumbled upon a clearing and gasped in amazement. Before them stood the most incredible sight: a house made entirely of gingerbread. Its walls were made of crisp gingerbread, the roof was shingled with chocolate bars, and the windows were made of shimmering sugar candy. The scent of sweet treats wafted through the air, making their tummies rumble loudly. Section 4. Outsmarting the Witch, a Fiery Escape. "Hello, children!" A raspy voice startled them. A frail old woman with a pointy hat and a sly smile stood by the door. "Welcome to my humble abode. Come in, come in. I have plenty of sweets to spare." Hansel and Gretel, famished and enticed by the woman's words, cautiously entered the gingerbread house. Unbeknownst to them, this was no ordinary old woman, but a wicked witch who lured unsuspecting children into her trap. She showered them with sweets and sugary treats, but Hansel and Gretel soon realized that something was amiss. The witch locked Hansel in a cage and forced Gretel to do all the chores. She planned to fatten Hansel up and gobble him up. However, Hansel and Gretel were smarter than the witch thought. Each day, when the witch asked Hansel to stick his finger out to check if he was getting fatter, Hansel would cleverly offer her a thin chicken bone instead. The witch, losing her patience, decided to cook Hansel anyway. She prepared a blazing fire in the oven. "Check if it's hot enough, my dear," she cackled to Gretel, thinking she outsmarted the children. Gretel pretended not to understand. "How do I check, Granny?" "I've never used an oven before," she asked innocently. The witch, frustrated, opened the oven door wide to demonstrate. In a flash, Gretel seized the opportunity. She shoved the wicked witch into the blazing oven and slammed the door shut. With the witch out of the way, Hansel and Gretel were free. They grabbed handfuls of sweets and treasures from the gingerbread house and ran as fast as their legs could carry them. After what felt like days, they stumbled out of the forest, their clothes torn and their faces smeared with dirt, but their hearts filled with relief. And who did they see rushing towards them but their father? It turned out His heart had been heavy with guilt and worry ever since he left his children in the forest. He had finally overcome the stepmother's influence and set out to find them, filled with remorse. The father embraced his children tightly, tears of joy streaming down his face. He realized the error of his ways and vowed never to leave them again. As for the wicked stepmother, she had vanished without a trace, never to be seen again.